Good morning, Evan. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Thanks very much for speaking to me. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
It's your directorial debut, as a feature film.
It is.
I was looking back at the things that you'd written before. You've got quite a track record of writing films. What was it about this
Thank you.
film that you decided it was time for you to direct this one? And it felt for me, I don't know if you agree with me, it felt like very much a shift in tone for you as well, having written things for Disney and more kind of family centric films, no?
A slight shift in tone. I like to say that the Disney films, specifically like Beauty and the Beast, and obviously Huntsman for Universal, are fairy tales, and most supernatural thrillers, which the Unholy is a dark fairy tale. Like if you read the old Grimm brothers stories, they're horrific. They're full of violence and things that terrorized kids in the Middle Ages. But the reason I wanted to do this is actually I've been carrying the book around since I was 13.
Right.
I read it when it came out in 1984. I had discovered James Herbert because I read Stephen King's book Dance Macabre, which was the nonfiction novel-length essay about what movies and books influenced him in the genre. And at the end of the book, he has this list of 100 best novels and films that he's like, these are the influential ones, go see them. So I started checking them off. And I discovered James Herbert that way. And when I read Shrine, the Herbert novel, I felt it was Billy Wilder's Ace in the Hole meets The Exorcist.
Right.
So it felt like a natural combination of two different genres, which I really enjoyed. And so as I got into the movie business and I started working my way through, I would always carry the book around and go to the studios that liked me at any given time and ask them to adopt it for me, hire me to write it. And finally, Screen Gems bit. And Screen Gems had just had a change in leadership. And so they were pursuing an interesting agenda, which was hire established writers that want to direct a movie and then surround them by the best people to help them actualize their vision. And so they offered me this directing gig, which terrified me.
Right.
And then they put me together with Sam Raimi, and you could not get a better mentor to walk you through a supernatural thriller. That's how it came about.
Fantastic. I'm glad you mentioned that, Sam Raimi. That was one of my next questions. I've spoken to a few people he's produced with them. Crow was a recent one, I think. But everyone that's worked with him, they've said, "What? They couldn't have dreamed for a better collaborator." Can you tell me a little bit how when he got involved, how hands-on did he become? How instrumental was he in the whole process?
So in pre-production, in the development of the screenplay, and then in pre-production in terms of hiring the department heads and the development of the creature and all that, he was supremely hands-on. And it was a film school in general, but specifically a film school in the supernatural arena, to basically be sitting on his knee and listening to all his advice. And he would get like incredible details, like how the eye of the creature must not dilate so it comes across as specifically even more supernatural, details of human movements that would immediately identify a creature as human, remove them, and therefore you make it even more unreal. Now, once we started shooting, he actually had to go off and direct Doctor Strange, so we lost him. But he was there every day in the development and prep stage.
Uh-huh. And I mean, obviously, you said that you've been walking around this book in your bag or in your pocket since you were 13 now. So the ideas that you had to adapt it, I imagine, have also adapted over time as well, no?
Very much so. I mean, you can imagine that back in 1984, we didn't have cell phones.
That was one of my main questions I was going to ask you, but the technology just changed. So the fact that this is all about the media and how it kind of reaches the whole world in a click of a finger, no? It's just completely different now, yeah.
Completely different, but in a funny way, it much more helpful for what we wanted to do, because the story is basically about a supernatural entity with an agenda, and that's kind of rare. Like if you really look at most ghost movies, the ghost just wants people to get the hell out of its house.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty fundamental. This is an entity that actually becomes, as the movie progresses, media savvy and wants to reach as many people as possible, because that's part of its curse. So the fact that we now have the internet, the fact that we now have blogs, the fact that we have information at our fingertips in the blink of an eye suits this creature just great. So that really helped. The other thing that made it extremely topical, funny enough, is that our main character, as in the book, is a journalist who's kind of on the skids. Now, in the book, he's a never had been. In ours, we made him a person who once had everything, and then like Stephen Glass, was caught fabricating stories and lost it all. So the reason it made the story became very interesting today is because of the whole fake news term, where, you know, certain entities can accuse the media of, oh, you're making stuff up. Well, this guy really was. So he kind of personifies the negative aspects of the media culture, and it's a redemption story for him.
Listen, I have a story for you. Something the Examiner will love. A healing, possibly divine. A girl performing miracles after a visitation from the Virgin Mary. Chicago, New York, D.C., every demographic on this planet is eating this up.
You're going to see different versions of media. Our guy is a print journalist, and as the story progresses, he starts selling his wares to news channels, TV channels. Then there's a blog that he works for. Then there's like this whole social media montage when once Banfield, our fictional town, becomes a shrine. All these like disparate like versions of media show up, like Facebook, Twitter, you know, TikTok, everybody shows up. So it actually gave us many more opportunities that a supernatural media savvy entity could haunt the world. As opposed to in 1984, you had TV, radio, print.
Yeah.
Now you've got this whole gamut of ways.
In the same way, I mean, religion has also metamorphosed in leaps and bounds over the last 20, 30 years as well. That must have been something that's adapted in the way that you wanted to tell the story as well, I imagine.
For sure. I mean, I will say, spoilers alert, we are very much good defeats evil in this story, but we have 3 characters that represent today's church, and each one represents a different facet of it. The character that William Sadler, the great character actor, plays is the traditional, genuine, but old-time religion. Diogo Morgado plays a Monsignor dispatched by the Vatican, and his job, this is fascinating, came from the book. His job is actually a postulator. He is assigned, whenever there's an alleged miracle, he is assigned to use science, medicine, and technology to disprove the miracle. They also call them devil's advocates for that reason. That's their nickname. Because if they fail to disprove the miracle using every single piece of logic, then it's a real miracle. So he represents the way the modern church has the potential to grow by embracing science and while still remaining true to its faith. The third character is Bishop Giles, played by Carrie Always. And he represents the kind of, hey guys, give us some money, give us some donations. He represents the more venal, some would say practical, but probably more tied into earthly desires aspect of the church.
How many are going to watch? Mary wants to reach as many people as possible.
Maybe millions.
I mentioned earlier that one of the inspirations was Billy Wilder's Ace in the Hole. And Ace in the Hole is about a morally corrupt journalist who discovers that in the aftermath of a mine cave-in, there are some survivors. He knows where they are trapped, but he won't reveal it yet because he wants to milk the story as much as possible. The only way Billy Wilder could make a movie like that work around a character who's basically an asshole is by casting Kirk Douglas, who everybody loves.
Yeah.
So when I was designing the screenplay, Jeffrey Dean was actually the model for the characters I was writing him, because as we've seen in Walking Dead, and as we've seen in many of his movies, the guy oozes charm. And even when he's bashing people's brains in with a baseball bat, there's something about him that he's charismatic and he's funny and he's fun and you just want to follow this guy. Yeah. So I needed an actor who people love and kind of want him to turn good. Another example would be actually every movie Bill Murray has ever made. Like Bill Murray, you love when he's like acerbic and witty and mean, but you love him so much you want him to turn good at the end. And that was very much why I cast Jeffrey Dean. Right. And when you see the movie, you really get it. Like he starts the movie with this, we like to say shit-eating grin, kind of a sleazy grin. And then by the end, he's genuine and he's sacrificing himself to save the day.
Right.
Now, Cricket was a gigantic discovery for us. The part is Alice Paget. And Alice Paget is a 16-year-old girl who was born unable to speak or hear. She suffers from a condition called congenital cholesteatoma. And as the movie progresses, Alice prays to the Virgin Mary. She feels a special relationship with the Virgin Mary. She starts having visions. She starts having visitations by what she believes is the Virgin Mary. And very early in our movie, about 10 minutes in, she's healed, fully and miraculously healed. And not only can she now hear and speak, she becomes the voice of Mary on earth. And she starts conveying messages from her lady. So it's a gigantic role for a young actress. And I actually thought we were going to have a really hard time casting this part. Turned out it was the easiest part to cast, not just because we found Cricket, but because there is a wealth of talent out there. Like we saw many actresses, but there were at least 9 that could have done the part. Right. And we had the luxury of just casting the one that was the very best, both in terms of audition and in terms of look. So Cricket has only done one off-Broadway play and a whole bunch of short films. This is her first role in a feature film of any kind. And what I loved about her was she, first of all, looks like the girl next door. She looks like somebody that you immediately, when you see them for the first time, you love them. She has this appeal of just endearment. And I really needed that for Alice, because we're not supposed to be scared of Alice. We're supposed to be scared for Alice. We want her not to be in danger. We need to care about her. The other thing that she had was this completely raw authenticity. And what it reminded me of is when you look back in like 1980s movies, because Shrine is of that, the book is of that era, the actress who really personified the early 80s was Deborah Winger. And what she had was a raw emotion that the minute you threw her on screen, you turned the camera on, she had this warmth, she had this appeal. You saw every quiver of feeling in her eyes and on her face. And that's what you get from Alice, because Alice, being that she was born unable to speak or hear, had to convey emotion, not just with sign language, but also with facial expressions and body language. And that's what Cricket brought to the part. I will also add, our cast, our seasoned cast, Sadler, and Elwes, and Jeffrey D. Morgan lost their minds over her because they could not understand how we found somebody completely brand new who already had the professionalism, the skills, and the instincts of a seasoned player.
There are people out there that don't believe in your miracles. How would you respond to those folks?
Seeing is believing.
And why do you think Mary chose you?
I opened myself up and welcomed her in.
But this is your first feature film. You said you were terrified going in. Now that you've got that weight off your shoulders, have you caught the bug to go into another one, or would you rather go back to writing for a bit first now?
I would, well, writing is definitely my first love and my safe spot, but I would do it again, but not during a pandemic.
Oh, no, definitely.
That really threw me for a loop.
That'll make the second film feel a lot easier.
It must. But depending on how this is received, yeah, I probably would love to do it again.
I'm sure it's going to be fun. I've not seen it, but it looks great. I can't wait to see it. Well, Evan, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I wish you the best of luck with the film when it comes out, and hopefully speak to you about something in the future.
I would love that. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you so much. All the best then. Have a good day. Cheers, Evan. Bye now.
Offer your soul to Mary.
Holy Mary, Mother of God, the Lord is with you.